So I just wanted to share the coolest car story that's happened to me personally so far. And this was back and started in 2005, negotiations for this car, and we ended up purchasing it in early 2006. But the way the story unfolded was that my buddy was out driving around and he saw in this neighborhood a primered 69 Camaro, but it had current tags on it, so he figured it probably wasn't for sale. But he stopped and talked to the guy anyway, and the guy told him about a couple more 69 Camaros in that same neighborhood that a guy owned, and he said he knew they were still there because he had seen them, the garage doors open recently, and had seen them. So my buddy went over there to check it out, and I think sure enough one of the garage doors was open. You could see one of the cars. So he stopped to talk to the lady, and sure enough they were for sale, but they were her husband had passed away, I think like 9 months prior to that. So he had left them to his kids. He had two kids. One was left to, I believe, a son in his 20s, and the other one a daughter in her teens, I believe. So one car was fully visible. It was a maroon 69 SS Camaro that you'll see in the pictures there. And the other one was almost completely buried. But we're sitting, we open our conversation with her and everything, and I got over there to look at them with him, and so we're going over the maroon one and everything. I just kept looking over to what I could see of the one that was buried, and you'll see in that close-up picture that was my view of that car at first. It was so buried with just stuff, cardboard, mattresses, whatever, furniture around it, but I could see that hideaway headlight, and that it was 69, and that it was Hugger orange. And I was tapping him on the shoulder. I was like, we need to see what that is. And so when he finally asked her, she was like, oh, yeah, that one's pretty rare. That's supposed to be like 500 of them made, had like aluminum heads or something. They're still in the front seat there. My eyes kind of bugged out a little bit, and I looked at him, and I'm like, okay, we need to really see what that is. And so I don't even know if I had heard of an L89 at that time. What that is the 375 horse, 396 L78, but with aluminum heads, it's an L89 designation. So I looked up those numbers later, and there was 311, I believe, made for 69. And later on, Camaro experts online said that with the options this car had, there was maybe a handful of them made. So we started negotiations on that car, especially after we saw how rare it was and everything. So we were pursuing that one first, at least. And the thing was, though, this lady's husband's prior best friend, I believe, had first dibs in these cars if they ever became available, and so she had to contact him first. And so they weren't available online or anything. They weren't being advertised, and my buddy just happened to stop over there at the exact right time. But she contacted this family friend, and we stayed in contact with her. And she said that at first, when she talked to him about it, he said that he might have to take out like 401k funds or something, and knew his wife wouldn't be happy about that. And so when we heard that, and he said he would get back to her, but when we heard that, there was a ray of hope, because at first we were like, well, if a family best friend knows these cars and gets first shot at it, then there's no way we have a chance. So he called her back a couple weeks later, and she was kind of saying the same thing, that she was waiting on him to see what he was going to do. And we had put, she had first set a price, and which was extremely reasonable, and but we just started trying to add a little bit more money to it just to kind of move her along. So he went in negotiations with her for, I think it was like 2 months later. It was I think close to Christmas or something that year, end of November of 2005. And you got to understand, my buddy can sell ice cubes to an Eskimo, so he's extremely likable, great personality, just, can talk anyone into anything, basically, one of those types of personalities. But I just told him, I said, man, just put another $2,000 on the table and just tell her we can pick it up this weekend. So he did that, and, she thought about it for a minute, and she was like, you know what, I don't think so-and-so is going to be able to come through. That's fine. You guys can get it this weekend, which just blew our minds, because this was our first and best so far, extremely rare car that we had found. So you'll see in the pictures there us loading it up and everything. And I'm not going to give dollar amounts, but it was just crazy. That was just a whirlwind with that car, because it allowed me. But after we sold that car, it allowed me to get my '73 show car Cuda that I've had since then. And he at the time bought a neither of us had muscle cars of our own at the time, and but we had always been in the hobby and stuff, and just still trying to get enough money to get something cool. So it allowed me to get that car, and at the time he also got a beautiful '69 Judge GTO recreation tribute car, and I'll put pictures of that there too. And both the cars we were able to get, and we still had enough money left over to keep the car flipping business going that we had on the side there. But it was crazy because when he got that car, we knew we were going to flip it and everything, but because of its pedigree, we knew we pretty much didn't have to do anything to it. I mean, the aluminum heads were there. Oh, also, I didn't tell you the full gambit of what that car came with option-wise. So that car is a '69 Camaro, started with an L89, the aluminum heads, 396 car. It is also a Hugger Orange RS SS black interior 4-speed car, and that interior was near gorgeous in that car. It really didn't need a lot. We ended up selling it to some restorers who have done all kinds of high-end Camaros up in, I don't know if they were in New York or Pennsylvania. I know it's like close to the line of New York, up in Upper PA. And so they restored that car just to beautiful perfection, as you'll see also there in the pictures. So my buddy posted it online. We didn't put it for sale immediately. He just kind of put it on one of the Camaro websites and said, "Hey, look what I got, check it out, really rare car." And I had a number in mind that this car would immediately do, and he thought it was like way overboard, too optimistic about what it would do. But I knew for a fact that this car would do at least this. And so he just didn't sit on the forums, didn't know what he was gonna do with it yet and everything. And sure enough, my pretty much exact number came up a few days later, and I was like, I told you it's gonna do way better than that. And so he ended up putting it on one of the Super Camaro websites, and where these guys buy all kinds of and restored all kinds of Yenkos and Copos and all the high-end rare Camaro stuff. And so the offers started climbing, and it was just amazing to see what people were willing to give for that car without us touching it at all. We didn't have to do anything to it. And it was a pretty darn solid car. Aside from what you see in the front pictures of it, I believe she said before the house where they lived currently at that time, their other property, the car had sat underneath a carport where the front end hung out a little bit. So rain had always hit the front end of that car, and that's why you see the rust there on the front end of it. But her husband had drag raced the car back in the day. We found time slips in that car, which was pretty cool. I think it was running low 12s or 1190s, if I remember right. But it was just cool to see that documentation in the car there still. But the guys who bought it and restored it just did an impeccable job. The car was winning 999 points, everywhere they took it. It debuted at the GM at Carlisle in 2007, so it took them just a little over a year to restore it. But he even had the original twisty shocks in that car, the rear shocks. I'd never even seen those before, and they restored those, just restored everything in that car, and it was just gorgeous, as you can see. So anyway, I just wanted to share that story with you, just because it's still amazing to me, and I wish I could find cars like that all the time. Some of these other guys on these shows on YouTube do find amazing stuff all the time. Some of them can afford to get out there and look for all that all the time too. It's not something I can do at the moment, but I still am trying to find and collect and sell cars and stuff. But just wanted to share that story with you guys, because it was just an amazing whirlwind, and I wish I could find cars like that every day. Thanks for watching.